G'day, in this tech tidbit I'm going to take a deep dive into the pretty advanced PDF editing capabilities that are built into your iPad. So I'm going to start off with diving into an email that I received that had an attachment to it. So I'm going to open up this attachment. It looks like it's a Microsoft Word document. And what I'd like to do is actually convert that into a PDF just to demonstrate for you that you can convert all kinds of files into PDF, which then lets you do an amazing amount of editing once it's converted. So now that it is open, I'm going to click on the Share, and then I'm going to click Print, which sounds kind of strange, I realize that, but that's how we're going to convert it to a PDF. Now looking at this, it gives you little print preview windows here. With my fingers pinched together, my thumb and my forefinger, I'm going to pinch the top preview panel and expand it bigger. Pinch, expand, which makes it go full screen. At that point, I can click on the Share again, and at this point it looks like if I do Save to Files right here, it is converting it to a PDF. And I'm just going to dump it into my downloads and hit Save. And then I can just hit Done. And I can cancel that at that point. Hit Done a few times. And I'm going to dive into my files right here where it saved it. And here it is. I will open that file. And it is now a PDF. Once you have a PDF, any kind of PDF whatsoever, you can go up here to the Markup icon, which is a really powerful icon. It brings up this menu down here, which looks pretty simple, but there's actually a lot of power behind it. At this point, what I'm going to do is grab my stylus, and I can start to click on these to edit and to add content to this PDF. There's just 3 different types of pens that you can choose from based on how thin or thick you want it to be. But if you click on it again, you can actually change the thickness and the transparency of it all. And you can even come down here and change the colors. I don't know if you see me changing the colors over here. But again, I'm just going to choose this. And then I can go over to my PDF and I can write something. Now that permanently puts that content onto my PDF. So if I want to do any kind of handwriting, I can envision teachers using this if a student turns in a project on a PDF, like a math assignment. A teacher can then go in and make edits to it, like any kind of revisions and things like that, or any help that they want to provide. Now at that point, now that I have something on here, I can show you some of the other tools that I have. Down here on the menu, this is your undo button. So if you want to make something go away, you just click on that. And it looks like it's going to go away one letter at a time because that's how I wrote it on there. And then there's the redo button, so I put it back. Now I'm going to go over here to the eraser tool, which does exactly what you would imagine it would do. If I click on that, I can erase. And I'm going to click undo so I don't have a bad word on my screen. You also have this one right here, which is a selection tool. This guy right here. With that, you can draw a selection, but basically draw a box or a circle, whatever shape you want, around what it is that you want to select. And now it is selected. Now at that point, I can use my finger on the screen to move it, which is kind of cool. And it also, while it is selected, I can hit the delete button to delete it, and it goes away. So those are just a few of the tools right here as far as drawing goes. You also have a lot more right here with this plus, with the plus sign, that really brings out the power of what you can do here. And this is what I dive into quite a lot. So I want to edit this. I want to add some text to it. So I'm going to click Text. And you can see it's dropped right here a text box, kind of buried under it all. What I'm going to do with my finger on the screen is just move that text box to a different spot. And once it's in a place I want it to be, notice it's got these 2 little expanders on each side. You can expand how big that text box is going to be. But if I just use my finger in there and maybe double click, now I've got my text selected. With my text selected, I can write something else. I can write something like that, makerspace. Now the issue with that is it is obviously a bit big to fit in there. So I'm going to kind of click away from it so I'm not in typing mode anymore. And then I'll click it one more time with my finger to select it. And then down here, I can mess around with my fonts. You can also mess around with your colors too if you want to change the color of your writing. But I'm going to click on the font And you have 3 different font choices. You can change that if you want to, or you can make your font bigger or smaller. So you can make it fit your space. You can also make it aligned either left, center, right, or justified. So now that I've got my font in a reasonable size, I'm going to put it where I want it to be. And right now I'm just using my finger to drag it around on the screen and move it exactly where I want it to be. Another thing that I use often is if there's something that I want to blot out or take away from a PDF, and this is a common issue that people say is, oh, I got this PDF, but I want to make something deleted on it. Can you delete a PDF or content on a PDF? You absolutely can, and this is how you do it. You can click on that plus sign, and you can also click on, you got all these shapes, which by the way are extremely useful if you're making a PDF that's going to highlight maybe a kind of a tutorial, or you want to illustrate something or show something with some emphasis. You can use these shapes. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the square, and it just drops a square on there. And with my finger, I can click and drag it. As long as I'm not actually touching one of those handles, those little blue handles. If you touch a handle, you can actually expand the shape of it. But if you're in between the handles, just on the lines themselves, you can move it to where you want it to be. So down here, you have all kinds of ways you can fill it. When that's this guy right here. If you click on that, right now the choice is that it's kind of a thick outline and it's got no color content in the middle. If you choose this one right here, which is the solid one, whatever color you have chosen here will be the color that it fills it with. So if I click on that, it fills it with black. But instead, what I'm aiming to do right here is change the year from 2022 to 2023. So I'm going to take this that's black right now, and I'm going to go into my colors, and I'm going to make it white. Where's white? Right here. So now I'm going to click away from that. And now I have a white box with no outline, which can get lost here. So I'm going to use my finger to move it right over the 2022 and then grab onto the handle to shrink it. And there you go. I've blocked out 2022. Now easy enough, I can just click on plus text. And it did make a little text box showing up right here. I'm going to grab that with my finger, and I'm going to change that, just double clicking on it to get my cursor back. And now it says 2023. Click away from it. So now it's selectable if I tap on it again, and I can move it right there. And of course, if I want it to match a little bit better, I can click on it, just a single click, and I can go into my fonts and I can make it bigger and so on. So it looks like it's trying to fit a little bit better in there, best I can. Another thing I'll show you real quick down here is with the text boxes. If I click plus text, this is a great way to add text to something in here. The maker space makes lots of things. Again, I'll click away from that, and now I can tap it once, and now it's movable. And so very easily I can add text to this, and I can make it fit the shapes that I want it to, and so on and so forth. And I'll also click on this plus sign right here and show you the magnifier, which is pretty cool. With the magnifier, it drops a circle on your PDF, and you can emphasize or highlight something by just kind of dragging it with your finger over top of something, and it makes it bigger. You can grab on that little blue handle and expand the magnifier. So if there's anything on there that you want to blow up a little bit bigger and highlight, you can do that with the magnifier. And I'm going to hit plus again. You can do circles, you can do callouts, and you can do arrows. I use arrows quite a bit when doing tutorials. So I'm going to grab that arrow that it dropped on there, and I can come down here and click on that editor here. You have different types of arrows or solid lines as well if you want to do a solid line. I can click on the color, maybe make it a red one, and then I can move it to where I want it to be, and I can also change the angle of what direction it's pointing at just by grabbing onto that blue handle at the tip and just moving it around like that with my fingers. And I can hit plus and add text. Here is an arrow. And then you can just kind of click it with your finger and drag it around to where you want it to be. So pretty quickly you can put together something that is a PDF that is now more of a tutorial where you can highlight things, emphasize things, and change it up in quite a way. And again, that's all by clicking this markup button right here. Last but not least, the last thing I want to show you, if I hit on that plus sign down here, I'm going to choose signature. This is an extremely beneficial thing. If you're ever given an electronic document that you're supposed to sign, well, easy enough. If you click on signature, mine is already on here because I've added it to it. But if yours is not there, you can click add or remove signature and use your stylus, and it'll let you sign, and then it'll save it. And then anytime you need to add your signature, you just kind of you hit that plus sign and you do signature, and then you tap it. And now your signature, your official signature, is on the document. Very, very handy. All right, so that's just a few things that you can do with editing PDFs on the iPad. Again, very, very powerful what you can do with editing and modifying PDFs. Really good tools for setting up tutorials, and also for marking up assignments that students turn into you if you want to add some notes to it or anything like that. It's almost as if someone handed you a piece of paper and you've grabbed a pen and you're going for it. So let me know if you have any questions on this. I'm happy to work with you, and enjoy editing your PDFs.